All right. I have two tough acts to follow, Helen and yeah, the note that I had to get from my mother. My senior year in high school, 1970-71 school year, so now you can do the math and figure out that I'm 54. My senior English instructor was a gentleman named Mike White. Pardon me. And Mr. White assigned us the task of reading a novel. It had to be by an American author, and we were to not do a book report, but we were to do an analysis of this novel, really get under the hood. I decided I wanted to read Some Came Running. I went to the public library to check it out. I looked on the shelf. All of his books were there except Some Came Running. So, you know, I checked the card catalog. Remember those card catalogs? Dewey Decimal numbers, stuff like that. I checked the card catalog, and sure enough, it was in the collection. So I assumed it was checked out. Never assume, right? I went to the counter and asked Mrs. Love, the librarian, if I could be put on a call list when the book returned. She said, "Oh, no, it's here." I said, "Where is it?" "It's not on the shelf." She goes, "Oh, we keep it up here under the counter." "Well, I want it." Pardon me. She informed me that I needed a note from my mother. I asked her why. "Well, there's some language in it." I wanted to say, well, there's language in his other books and use some of that language, but I didn't, being the good Boy Scout. So anyway, I went home, got my note, told my mom about it, and she was just totally outraged by the censorship. And she wrote this note that said, "My son, or Mrs. Love, my son, Doug Lawhead, has my permission to read any darned book in your darned library." And she'd underlined darn and had it in a little bit bigger letters. The author of that letter is sitting right back here. Kind of embarrassed now. Sorry, Mom, but, you know, I'm sure you'll pay me back sooner or later. As Helen pointed out, those of us from Robinson, we read this book, and yeah, it is kind of massive, including the epilogue. It is 1,266 pages. It's not a quick read, but it's a great read. When we read this and we drive around town, we see Parkman. And a few years ago, I was sitting on a beach on vacation reading that book for about the fourth time. And it suddenly hit me, somebody ought to write this stuff down and put something together and keeping track of where these things were, because they're disappearing. Fires, demolition, what have you. So I came up with this. Now, before I really jump into this, I'm going to point something out. In the book, Helen, and I forgot who you worked with on that, about the handy colony. I've got it right here, I guess.
I'm getting old.
Or Harry and George Hendrick. They, and also Frank McShane in a book he did, both refer to a statement Jones made when he was home when he was in Robinson in 1943, when he first became associated with Loney Handy, that his brother Charlie hosted a birthday party for him. It was his 22nd birthday. And I'm sorry.
His uncle.
Yeah, his Uncle Charlie. What did I say? His cousin? Or brother. Yeah, his Uncle Charlie. I'm sorry, I know that. His Uncle Charlie hosted a birthday party for him at the Elks. And supposedly at that birthday party, at some point, Jones stood up and made the statement that he was going to write a book about them and expose their contriving souls and sneaky love affairs. Now, it's documented in 2 books, so, you know, I don't know if he was talking about Some Came Running then, but boy, it sure kind of fits. Jones goes to special lengths in the, he has a special note before the foreword. And he points out that this is fiction and that there is no Parkman, Illinois on Route 40 in Illinois. That Route 40 does not cross the state line into Indiana via a bridge, as it is described in the book. He does say that there is a bridge, though, down in Hudsonville, Illinois, that leaps across the Wabash River into Indiana. But Hudsonville is not Israel. And that any resemblance to geographic places or people is purely his imagination and coincidence. I don't know if I'm buying all that. But anyway, it is fiction, no doubt. He very cleverly combines the things he knew. As Ray, I believe, pointed out in his presentation this morning, Jones wrote about things he knew, he was familiar with. And he very cleverly creates Parkman from Marshall and Robinson. And the county of Craig County in the book is a combination of things in Crawford and Clark counties. I'm not going to get into the characters. They are very complex, for the most part, combinations of a lot of people. I will say that the main character in the book, most people read it and think it's Jones. It's not. It's a guy named Russ. I'll just tell, should I tell him the last name? Why not? Right? His name was Russ Meskimen. His brother owned a furniture store. He is Frank, or part of him is Frank. About the only character in the book that's just about 100% true to the original was Bama in the book. Archie Ashby was the real man, and in the movie, the thing about the hat, that was Archie, wasn't it? That hat never left, even when they carried him, and it was never dirty. Even when they took him out of, was it the American Legion, I believe, on a stretcher after he'd fallen or something.
No, he was poked in the nose.
That's right, he was poked in the nose. And they took him out on a stretcher. The only thing he seemed to be concerned about was where his hat was, and it was right there with him when he went out. So anyway, enough about all that. Let's get into exploring Parkman. Right on the very first page of text on the book, Jones talks about the bus coming into Parkman through the S-turn leading into the town, with the home of the town's richest doctor in the arm of the first turn. He talks about how the road goes through the second turn, down a dip, across a bridge, and into town. At that time, when a bus came to Robinson from Chicago, such as is happening in the book, the bus would have come down Illinois Route 1A, which spurs off from Illinois Route 1 in the little town where I was raised, Trimble, comes into Robinson on the northeast corner of town, goes through an S-turn, and guess what's in the first curve? The home of the town's richest doctor. This was built by Dr. Arthur Woodson Allen during the Depression, and this is just how it looks today. It's still there.